What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another look at recent sales for vintage packaged Kenner Star Wars figures. And as you can tell by this thumbnail, there was a pretty big grail that sold for pretty big money that we're going to dig into a little bit later on in the video. And just a reminder for those of you who do have collections to sell and you don't want to deal with eBay, you don't want to deal with scumbag scammers on eBay, I do provide a service where I link up buyers and sellers. So I don't have any involvement in it other than just putting you guys together. And I've had a number of subscribers that have had good success with it and been very, very happy with everything. So you can reach out to me, actionfiguregrader@gmail.com, and I will put you in touch with everybody free of charge, just trying to help people out on both sides of the transaction. All right, let's go ahead and dig in. A number of these items I sent out to my Patreon supporters in Buy It Now alerts, and I don't know which. I know some of them were definitely purchased because they told me after the fact, but some of these I know I sent out, but I don't know if they bought them or not. This is one of them. This was pretty tempting, to be honest with you. This is the 21 back Death Star droid with the secret Star Wars action figure offer, and I don't have this particular offer sticker for the Death Star droid on a 21 back. I've got a 21A and I got a couple of 20 backs, but I don't have this one. And there was one that was in the big Morphe's auction last February, about a year ago, and it went for stupid money. I mean, it was not nearly, it was better condition than this one, but it wasn't as mint as advertised. And I think a lot of that's true for a lot of the items in that auction. And they did a great job of marketing them as a big find and things like that. But, you know, a number of those did have some condition issues. The one that I looked at on the Morphe's auction, it looked pretty mint. It looked pretty mint. And I had my number in mind, and it blew past that number like way early, way before the end of the auction. So I was like, ah. And I'm really happy that I stayed away from that auction because it seems like everything went super, super expensive. And in general, those prices we haven't seen in a long time. And I just think that a lot of people overpaid to be part of that auction. And that's fine. If you did, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, those prices were just a little higher, a little outside of my comfort zone. But anyway, this is one that was in that auction. It sold for $1,300 or $1,400. And that was before any kind of buyer's premiums or taxes or anything else. This one was listed for $525, and I sent this out and said, hey, this is a pretty good deal relative to some of the other ones that have sold. Now, it wasn't perfect. It did have a slight ding on the top of the blister. The bottom of the stem, everything looked great. It did have some condition issues by the hang tab and edge wear and things like that. But in general, I thought it was pretty good. I thought that the card score would be a 75, the blister score of 80, and the figure score probably an 85. So I think it had a pretty good outside chance at a 75 plus, potentially an 80, but realistically it's probably a 75 plus grade. But it was only $525, which for this particular character, it's hard to find this one. It's been my experience anyway. You don't see it pop up that much, and when you do, they're very expensive usually, over $1,000 type thing. So I thought this was priced really well. It did take a little while to sell, but it did sell at $525 plus $15 shipping. These three die casts I think I had in a what to buy video. They were all mint on card, pretty good shape, not perfect by any means. They showed a few flaws. This card had some flaws. It would probably knock it down to about a 75 grade, but from a presentation perspective, it's very nice. Clear blister, unpunched, no price sticker for the die cast Darth Vader TIE Fighter. And this one sold for $257 and change in an auction. And the same seller also had the Imperial TIE Fighter, which the card was in pretty good shape. It had some kind of like weird nicks or kind of scratches on the card. But that was about it in terms of condition problems. It looks to be clear blister and in great shape. I think this one would probably score an 80. And it sold for $380. And then the X-Wing, the diecast X-Wing was also in the sale. And again, not perfect, but pretty darn good. This was easily the best condition that I could tell for the three that he had for sale that were all mint on card. And again, assuming that the blisters and everything are not peeling off, which has always been my concern for mint on card diecast, because they're so heavy that you would think that the glue holding these things together would kind of just deteriorate over time, and the heaviness of the die cast would pull it off the card, which you do see sometimes. But anyway, I thought they were all very nice condition for, given that they were at auction. And this one sold for $395 plus shipping on that one. So pretty good deals, I feel like, for three fairly nice condition, clear blister die-cast vehicles. Next up was kind of a slightly yellowed blister, 31 back Princess Leia. It might be clear. It's hard to tell in the photos. It might be a clear blister, but it did have some condition issues, again, with the cards, obviously around the hang tab and then in the lower left-hand corner there, and that kept the price down. It sold for $433 and change, and again, in higher grade, unpunched, or just even in higher grade period, you're probably closer to $1,000, if not above that, for a fairly early Empire Strikes Back Princess Leia. But you know, the more I look at it, I think it is a clear blister. It's just got some condition issues with the card. So that's what held the price down, especially around the hang tab there. It looks like it's really pulled away there. But still, you know, at $433, you're not paying top dollar for it. You're probably half of what it would go for at about an 80 grade. Next up, this is another one I did send out through my Patreons. It did not last long, so I assume that one of y'all bought this one, but this was a beautiful unpunched Power Droid, also on the 31 back. And I thought this one was in pretty stunning condition. It had some very light, it looks like sticker residue or something in the upper right-hand corner, but blister was crystal clear and in fantastic shape, unpunched card, just a beauty. And I thought it was worth every penny of the asking price of $480. And so I did send that out, and it sold very quickly after that. So I assume that one of y'all bought that. Really nice looking Power Droid. It seems like the Power Droid on Empire Strikes Back card backs are very tough to find. And when you do find them, they usually are for sale for a lot more than this. So I think $480 was a very good price, and hopefully whoever bought that is very happy with it, because it was very tempting from my perspective. Next up was a Leia Hoth on a 41 back, probably the 41 back E. No, this is the 41 back. I can't remember which back that is, but this has got the Unitoys factory stamp there, the U. But I don't think that's the 41E. The 41E has the AT-AT Walker, if memory serves, on the back. But 41 back, unpunched. It did have a yellowed blister, as you can see. They're very lightly yellowed. But that one sold for $501, which, again, if it's a clear blister and in this kind of condition, you can probably add $300 or $400 to it pretty easily. Very expensive character on any kind of ESB card back in really good shape with a clear blister. So 501 is probably about right, if you ask me, for a yellowed 80 kind of ish condition. Very nice. This is another one I sent out to my Patreon supporters. I thought it was an interesting enough listing, and the price was interesting enough and fair enough. This was a Lando on a 47 back 4-LOM. It was a yellowed blister, but it was packed in with the incorrect weapon. It had the DL-44 blaster instead of the Bespin blaster. So I thought that was a kind of a cool one to send out. It was listed for $300. Again, to me, it was a price that I'd be willing to pay. And I try to only send out stuff that I think is fair, or that in a different universe where I had unlimited money, that I would buy it myself. And so this was one of those. And again, it was yellowed blister, but the card was in great shape, probably an overall yellowed 80. And to get a factory air with the incorrect weapon inside, it's just kind of a little bonus. So $299 on that one plus shipping. Here's another one I sent out. Very tempting on this one. This one was a 47 back Hoth Stormtrooper, and it was graded CAS 80. 80, 85, 80 were the subscores. Clear blister, very, very nice condition. Unpunched with a price sticker in the upper right-hand corner. But overall 80 grade at $925. It seems expensive, but it's really not. I mean, pretty much any Hoth Stormtrooper clear blister in near mint to near mint minus condition, it's going to set you back around this price. And clearly somebody agreed with me on that. I don't know who bought it, but $925 free shipping on that. It's a beauty. And certainly, I would love to have a Hoth Stormtrooper on a ESB card bag. That's just kind of a killer combination, if you ask me. So really, really nice looking example there. Next up was another Hoth Stormtrooper. I know that somebody bought this one that's a Patreon supporter. This was a good deal in my mind. It was a slightly yellowed blister, but it was on that beautiful Revenge of the Jedi offer 48 back C. And this one was slightly unpunched. It did have some wear around the hang tab. Blister was in good shape, just kind of slightly yellowed, as you can see there. But the blister itself was in really good shape. And the card back itself was also in great shape. So I thought this one had an outside chance at an overall 80. Probably a 75 for the card, 80 for the blister, 80 to 85 for the figure, and for an overall 80 grade. So this one was at $355, which I thought was a great deal. And again, if this had been a clear blister, probably double that price to $700 plus. So I thought that was a great pickup. Congrats to a Patreon supporter who picked that one up. Next up is a yellowed blister Zuckuss on the 48C. And this was a beauty. Unpunched no with a price sticker, excuse me, in the upper right hand corner. Now the blister itself had kind of a lot of residue and stuff like that for, you know, the edges of the blister and starting to kind of peel a little bit, and so dirt and dust got behind the seal on it. But it looks factory sealed to me. It's just got a lot of dust and stuff that has gotten behind there, and that was a beauty. And you know, it was only $260 was the final winning bid, which again, this particular figure, this one I think just sold in the last Hakes auction for quite a bit more. And this one, it probably has an outside chance at an 80 grade. You know, I'm not saying that everyone's going to grade this stuff. I'm just trying to give you an idea of the condition of it. So to me, the card's easily an 80. The figure's probably an 80 or an 85 easily. The blister is where I'm not sure how they would judge, because, you know, it does have all this weird sticker residue in there. It's certainly not an 85, but it's probably either a 75, which is what I would give it, or a low 80 for the blister. But, you know, I don't know if that's dirt or you know, I think because it's got a little bit of residue going around it, that they would probably drop that down to a 75 for the blister. So to me, it's probably 80, 75, 80 or 85 for the figure, for an overall 75 plus or an 80. So it's in that ballpark, but I thought it was worth highlighting, because this is a good budget-friendly option, because a lot of these 48 back Cs or 48Bs with the Revenge of the Jedi offer, they're just very, very expensive card backs in general. People really covet these and the 48 backs, and I'm sure my videos don't help, because those are probably my two favorite card backs, to be honest, as well. There's the 48 back ESB card, and then the 48 back Return of the Jedi transition card with the free Neonum offer. So I just like the way they look. They really pop with those offers, and it seems like other collectors agree with me, because the prices really have gone up a lot on those. Next up, I know another Patreon supporter got this one because he told me, and I thought this was a good deal, so I sent it out. It was $150 for a mint on card Nikto, unpunched, and I think it would grade out at about an 80. It did have a big ding in the lower right-hand corner, but it is a Trilogo, and that's just the way it is with a lot of these. But in general, the blister was in good shape, and this is a good angle to really show you what the etched blisters look like for a lot of these Palatoy card backs. And it's a factory applied etching on the edges of the blister. Some of them have it, some of them don't, but this one does. It's got the etched style blister. The card back was in great shape, so I think it gets an 80 or an 85 for the card. Probably a 75 or an 80 for the blister, then an 85 for the figure. So I think it gets an overall 80. And for $150, pretty hard to find that for a Trilogo, because of how hard it is to find such good blisters on these. So I thought that was a good buy at $150 free shipping. Next up is another Trilogo. This was a kind of a rough shape, but I wanted to show it because it's got the Yoda on the Palatoy Trilogo. It was unpunched, but obviously a lot of wear to the blister that you can see there. So really crunched blister, which is about the condition for a lot of these Trilogos. It's just such a fragile blister style. But this one's still sold over in the UK for 311 pounds, which is $390 US. If you ever see a Yoda with an orange snake inside a Palatoy Trilogo, no matter what the condition, if it's a mint on card, like a true mint on card and not a reseal, I don't care what the condition is. If it's cheap, buy it, because they're very tough to find with the orange snake inside. And I've seen them go for a lot of money. I've seen them go for not much money. It just depends on, who's looking and things like that. But I saw one that went at auction that was not in great shape, that sold for over $3,800 if memory serves. And then last year, like 6 months ago or less, I saw another one that fell underneath the radar that nobody knew about. That was an orange snake mint on card that sold for like $330. And it's probably worth more than $330, probably not worth as much as $3,800 now, but I think it's probably, easily double the $330, because to get an orange snake Yoda on a Palatoy, very tough to do. You just do not see them come up very often. And if you ever see one cheap, grab it, because it's a very valuable Palatoy variation for the Yoda. Here we go. This is one I did send out to my Patrons. I don't think anybody bought it, but it sat for a couple days. But this was a very tough to find Italian 4-pack. And you can see it's got the Italian language. Offerta speciale per i collezioni acquisiti. I don't know what that really says. It's probably some kind of multi-pack offer special. But these were available in Italy. And the seller is a seller I see regularly on eBay. He's also on Facebook, so I know he's not a scammer or anything like that. And so he did mention reseal ? And quite honestly, what I told my Patreon supporters when I sent this out in a buy it now alert, I was like, it doesn't really matter if it's a reseal because these things are so easy to slide in and out that you can easily switch them out. And it's hard to prove that they were factory sealed unless you really play with it. Now, what makes me think he said that is because on this edge, you can see where it looks like someone tried to peel it up and switch out a figure and things like that. Now, usually when they're switching them out for more expensive, more desirable characters rather than less expensive or less desirable characters, right? So it would be very weird to me to do a reseal and slide in these particular characters. The Hoth Rebel Soldier or Hoth Rebel Commander, Weequay, Nikto, and then Pruneface. Those are all very, very common Trilogos. There was a case where someone definitely slid in a Boba Fett mint-on card that was resealed and things like that. So there's all kinds of hijinks that can go on with these. And when AFA grades them, they always grade them qualified. They never grade them as mint and sealed package with the red label. They always grade it qualified with, I think it's the blue label, because there's no way to really prove that the 4 particular mint-on card Trilogos that are shown with this outer packaging was the way they came from the factory, because it is, this curling here, it might just be damage to the box. But I think he said reseal ? In the title for this item, because it does look like someone peeled it up and maybe tried to slide in a new one. But why they would bother sliding in a Pruneface, I don't know. Unless they were taking out, maybe a character like Boba Fett where they wanted to have it separate from the 4-pack, grade the Boba Fett separately and sell that off, which would be obviously a lot of money. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a reseal or not, but in my opinion, it doesn't really matter because it always gets a qualified grade anyway from AFA. Now, AFA might look at this and say, no, this has obviously been tampered with. We're not going to grade it. But in my opinion, you don't need to grade this anyway. I mean, these are all in really rough shape. If you look at the blisters on them, they're all in really rough shape anyway. So now there was one that was qualified graded that had a very desirable Trilogo Cloud Car pilot, which I really wanted it. Now it was graded by AFA, qualified graded, and it was available at the Hakes auction probably about 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. I'm sure you can go to Hakes closed auctions and look it up. But it sold for a lot of money. I mean, it was like $6,000 or $7,000 if memory serves. Again, I'm going on memory, so I don't know exactly what it sold for, but it was several multiples of what he was asking for this one. And so that's why I sent it out. I was like, look, I don't care if it's a reseal or not, because you don't need to grade this. You would just get like a sliding acrylic case, which they do make them for these 4-packs, and just have it displayed. I mean, it's an awesome item, a piece of collecting history, an Italian multi-offer 4-pack. You don't have to grade this. This is not something that needs to be graded. It's just an awesome piece of collecting history. And so I thought the asking price was fair, given that he thinks it might be a reseal. So cool. It's easily probably a third of what the one at Hakes sold for. So very cool item. It did finally sell after a small price drop for 2,200 euros or 23.59. And I think on the thumbnail, I had a different number. It's because I was using the exchange rate for the day that I made the thumbnail, which, I looked at the euros to dollars exchange rate. It's a little different now that I pull it back up on eBay. So that's why the number is a little bit different than what I had on the thumbnail. But anyway, I wanted to highlight this because I don't remember there being one of these for sale on eBay. I'm sure there have been. I just haven't seen them. But this is the first time I can remember one being on there, and it's just an incredible item. So very, very much worth showing. Next up, I know another Patreon supporter got this. Tony R. picked this one up. I was really tempted on this one, so I'm glad Tony bought it, so I didn't. This is one of my favorite card backs that I was just talking about, which is the free Neonum offer 48-back Return of the Jedi. It's got hammerhead, clear blister, and in great shape. This was sold by South Beach Toys, who apparently Tony told me that South Beach Toys watches my YouTube channel, so shout out to them. I just bought a Leia baggie from them, so I do buy from them fairly regularly. Always had good experience with them. They pack their items just really well. But I thought this 48-back was super tempting. It had a little card wave to it, a little minor non-color breaking crease, but that blister was in fantastic shape, and I think it would grade an overall straight 80s pretty easily. if not an 85 for the blister. That blister is pretty immaculate. So it'd probably go 80, 85, 80, 80, because the weapon has come loose from the tape inside the blister. So that was a beauty and worth every penny of $450, by the way. I've seen some examples in about this condition that were not graded, that have sold for quite a bit more on Facebook, like quite a bit more. I'm talking like $700-800. So this one was a bargain, and I'm glad that Tony bought that, so I didn't. But that was a beauty. The blue for Hammerhead really strikes nicely with the blue for the Neon Numb offer sticker. I mean, that's just an awesome combination. So congrats, Tony R, on that one. That one is a stunner. Next up is a clear blister R2-D2 Sensor Scope 77 back. This was at auction over in the UK for £255, which is $319. Now, I couldn't tell in this upper left-hand corner what was going on with that blister, but, you know, it looks like a ding or something going on there. But in general, pretty decent shape. There you go. So it was actually a cracked blister. I didn't see that until now. So it was a cracked blister. I don't know if I'd pay $320 for that. I mean, that seems like a lot. $320 for a cracked blister seems like a lot of money. That's just my personal opinion. But to me, I think you can probably get one of these. I mean, I know a Patreon supporter just got this exact item, admittedly with a yellowed blister, for $250. It was yellowed. This one's clear, but it's cracked. You know, to me, I'd rather have a yellowed blister that's not cracked. Same card back, everything. Same character for $250 here in the U.S. less than a week or two ago. So, to me, I don't know. Once it's a cracked blister, I consider it almost like a freestanding item. You're buying the figure plus the card back and blister. It's not really a packaged item, although I know it is, because it can't be, the R2-D2 can't be slid out of here. But, you know, that's just my, you know, to me, it's very fragile at this point. I'll be shocked if it makes it through shipping, because that R2 has a good chance of just launching out of that blister, given that it's already broken. So it is what it is, but somebody paid £255 for it, or $320 US. Here was another one I wanted to send out, but it sold before I could, and I was a little hesitant to send it out because it looks like it's got a red marker ink right here. Somebody put marker on it, so I don't know how the grading companies would kind of grade that, but you know, it could have been like a red tag sale at the store, and they just mark it with a red ink. So that's probably what it is. But it was a clear blister Stormtrooper 77 back A, and it was listed for $395. And I was tempted to send it out, but I was like, I don't know. And it sold very quickly after that. But, you know, and I don't know. I don't know how grading companies will view that red mark on there by the Return of the Jedi logo. And again, it could have been applied at the store, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that gets handled. One of the grading company experts would have to know that one, and I'm not. Maybe like Chris Whitlock over at CAS could answer that question as to whether that would be considered something that would preclude it from being graded. I don't know. But it was a beautiful clear blister, $395 on that one. And then here was another one I did send out that sold very quickly. This is a 79 back Stormtrooper. You don't see the 79 back for the Stormtrooper very often. And this was graded by CAS 85. So very, very nice item. And it looks like, let's see, 85, 85, 85. So straight 85 subscores, admittedly a yellowed blister, unpunched, with a price sticker for $350 on a. To me, I don't remember the last time I've seen a 79 back Stormtrooper. That's just a 79 backs in general are kind of tough to find in good shape. You know, it was kind of towards the end before they switched over to like the Power of the Force line, things like that. So I just don't see a ton of 79 backs, period. But for a first 12 figure 79 back, I thought that was a pretty good deal at $350. Next up was a Boba Fett mint on card. Obviously had some condition issues, heavy yellowing. Lots of spider veins. That one was listed for $1,300. Best offer accepted. And I apologize, I didn't look up what it sold for. I just forgot about it. But I think it's around $1,100 would be my guess. I don't know, somewhere in that ballpark. But that one did sell. It sat for a couple days on eBay. Next up was an AFA 80 Power of the Force Luke Stormtrooper mint on card. And that one sold for $1,320. So it did have the ugly Toys R Us price sticker on there. And it was a punched example, but you know, we talk all the time lately about how Stormtrooper Lukes have really gone up in price, and this one was no exception. The card score was 75, 285 subscores. So this was a beauty, and I think it came in about right, I guess. I would guess that if it didn't have that Toys R Us price sticker, it probably would have been a little bit higher. So I do think that people maybe are discounted just slightly because of that Toys R Us price sticker. So maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But an unpunched example is probably, you know, AFA 80 unpunched, no price sticker, probably closer to $2,000 nowadays, 1,800 to $2,000, somewhere in that ballpark. And then finally, this was a Power of the Force Security Scout mini rig. And this one was mint on card, unpunched with a European price sticker. And it was listed for 300 pounds, which is $375. I did send this one out because the blister, although heavily yellowed, which they usually are for these Power of the Force mini rigs, it did not appear to have any cracks on the blister, which is very tough to do just given how fragile they are at this point. I don't know what it is about these Power of the Force blisters. It's just, they turn heavily yellowed for these, security scouts and the snipers and all those kind of weird mini rigs that came out around this time period. So anyway, that one did sell very quickly for $375 US. So lots of interesting sales. I just wanted to kind of cover them in another market update. I hope you enjoyed this look. Please leave a like if you liked it so it helps out the algorithms. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon.